Welcome to her plant-powered overhaul. I am Bianca Jayne, your plant-based health, life and weight loss coach, and I've helped women across the globe lose everything from their first 60 pounds to their last stubborn 5 pounds without dieting, without restriction, without giving up the lifestyle that they love. Even if you've tried every diet known to women, or you know what to do, but you're just still stuck running in circles, not actually doing it, then this is the podcast for you, because we do things differently here. We go beyond the plate and we look at things like your thoughts, nervous system, beliefs, and your body, all of the missing pieces that every weight loss plan has failed miserably to provide you. So, if you're a vegan or plant-based woman and you want to create a life where weight loss is just one of the many incredible symptoms of living a healthier, happier life, then you're in exactly the right place. Welcome. Let's friggin' go. Quite often I see like spiders. I will see a person in the corner of the room. I have seen children in my wardrobe. I helped 227 women because I put out messy. I think that's one of the most detrimental things that we do is we take our thoughts for absolute truths. Hello and welcome back, my friends. I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit weird, but to succeed, you need to try and be bad at that thing. Because everything you've ever been taught about weight loss, about acquiring the best possible health, will probably tell you to do the opposite. It will say you need to strive hard and you need to strive for excellence and perfection. And you've got to do it right. You've got to follow the plan. Don't slip up. And if you slip up, you need to make up for it faster, because one bad choice is apparently the first domino to this whole chain effect. But that's not the story that you need to be told in order to succeed, in order to lose weight, in order to be the healthiest that you can be long term. That's just the story that you have been sold. And it's the reason you've spent years, maybe even decades, doing this on, off, yo-yo diet, like a light switch, instead of acting like a dimmer, going up and down and being able to return back to homeostasis and return back to normality. Is this on and off switch? So let's talk about why it's so important for you to fail intentionally. So there was a study of women aged 40 to 50, over 1,600 of them, and they were tracked over 3 years. And the ones who were actively trying to lose weight at the start of the study were 224% more likely to binge eat by the end of it. Not less likely, more likely. So the actual act of trying to diet properly was really the biggest predeterminer of binging and not actually staying on track. So if you've ever wondered why the harder you try to be good at losing weight, the more you spectacularly go off the rails, then it's not a coincidence and it doesn't make you a failure. It's just what that style of rigidity does to our nervous system and our brains as women. And it acts like this pressure cooker. And more rigidity eventually blows that lid off, where you feel like you're finally loose, you're finally free. And the average woman spends somewhere between 17 and 31 years of her life on a diet. And the average woman spends somewhere between 17 and 34 years of her life on a diet. So dieting isn't just a phase that we go through. At this point, it's pretty much a life self-imposed sentence where you are just stuck repeating the same actions, the same behaviors, the same failures, like a nightmare, right? That sounds like one of my nightmares. Stuck on this continuous loop where you just stay stuck and you stay sick and you stay overweight and unhappy with your body and with your life. And if you're currently 35, 45, 55, maybe you're sat there thinking about how many final diets that you've even tried to give a go, right? Think about that for a moment. Have a think about what that is like for you, how many times you have to fail in order to see those long-term results. How many years is that trying one thing and then the next thing, and then the next thing, only to end up back in square one? And I'm asking you these questions not because I want you to sit in shame or judgment about your choices, but I really want to highlight that your rinsing and repeating of the same cycles isn't down to this lack of willpower or self-discipline that all women think that they have or that think that they lack. It's actually down to the systems and the diet that you use. And if you haven't heard me talk about this over and over again, I will continue to spout it out. It's not you that's the problem, it is the diet. There is a reason why I sit here and do these weekly trainings every single week, do these episodes. There is a reason why I do this, is because I know that every single woman can lose weight, can step into a healthier body, and they can feel more confident, more radiant, more alive, more vibrant, more on purpose. And I know that as a cold, hard fact. Doesn't mean that everyone's going to do it, but I know that it's possible. And so I sit here every single week talking to you because I believe in your ability to do that. So here's the thing. If you're watching this online, on YouTube, on your phone, you have access to the internet, you have more resources available to you than you probably know, which means you have the ability to step into that version of you, to step into her. I know you do. Again, that's why I sit here every single week giving you free trainings, hoping that one day it sticks, one day it lands, and one day you realize, holy shit, this girl knows what she's talking about. But also, holy shit, I have the ability to change my life. So I want you to think about how much energy, how much money, how much time you've spent on trying the next thing, because you're not alone, right? Even by the age of 30, I had tried dieting more times than I can count. That had a very short shelf life. Like, I would usually only last a few days at best. I would tell myself that this time is different, and I would go out to the shops and I would spend 3 times my typical weekly shop on a week of groceries, because I would buy all of these health promoting foods. I thought the health aisle at the supermarket was the fountain of youth, right? It absolutely wasn't. Little did I know back then that the cheaper options, the cheapest things in that entire supermarket that I could probably get, were the things that were directly from the fountain of youth. But anyway, I promised myself over and over and over again, countless and countless times, this time is different. I'm going to try this approach. I'm going to try that. And I tried going, no carb. I tried cutting out bread, thinking that was the thing that was going to help me lose weight. I spent my entire wage on a week's worth of food shopping, right? And I would try starving myself. I would try barely eating all day and just hoping for the best. I tried many times. Now, while I didn't try Weight Watchers or Slimming World, I had made so many promises to myself that this time would be different, only to end up blowing it all by either the same day or a couple of days later. It never lasted more than a couple of days. And this stopping and restarting really is about perfectionism. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. This is why you have to be bad in order to be good. Now, perfectionism is a trait that women are basically raised to become. If you are not someone who struggles with perfectionism, this training is not for you. Girl, you have got it nailed. Keep freaking showing up for yourself. Keep putting in the reps. See you later. If you do have the perfectionism label, I really want you to think about what that looks like for you. How does it show up in your life? Because us women are almost raised to be perfectionists, to be good, to be tidy, to be the one who has it together, that doesn't make a fuss. We're told to not take up too much space, but also don't fall short, and make sure you're the person that everyone needs. But the reason why your perfectionism label doesn't help you achieve those long-lasting, long-term results, fat loss, weight loss, health, is because it's not an actual physical destination. You can't arrive at perfect, because we know that perfect doesn't exist, right? You can't just turn up on the doorstep with a suitcase to perfection, because perfection is subjective. It's whatever feels good enough to you in that moment, which obviously then means that is very much determined by how you feel, what you think about yourself that day, what you think about others that day. Have a think about it. How many times have you been trying to get something to a certain standard or a certain caliber? Maybe something like handing in a project at work. So you're thinking, oh, this needs to be really good. It needs to be like this and it needs to be that way. And then your boss pisses you off. Your boss rolls you up. You get angry. And so you say, oh, do you know what? That'll do. You were gunning for perfectionism, but then your idea of what was good enough changed because of your mood and your energy. So when we say, oh, I'm going to wait for the perfect meal plan, I'm going to wait for the right time, I'm going to wait for the right mean, the right resources. When you are waiting for things to be perfect and to be right and spot on and spectacular before you even start, you are actually waiting for a feeling. And this is the same as being ready. Like, am I ready to do this? Or I'm going to wait until I'm ready to take action or to lose weight. Perfectionism is in the same realm as being ready, because being ready is a feeling. Looking at something and thinking that it is perfect is more of, while it's a thought, it's more of a feeling, because that can fluctuate, that can change, right? Your idea of what's perfect is just dependent, is subjective on that very moment to you in that very moment, which means the second you get close to this idea of perfection, your brain is going to move the goalpost, right? Because that's what the word perfect actually means. It means always slightly further than when you currently are. So if perfectionist is a label that you've given yourself, you've essentially signed up for a level of a standard that by design you probably can never meet. And this idea is deeply connected to your own personal enoughness. So this is going to go a little bit deep, but bear with me on this one. It won't ever be perfect. If you are a perfectionist, it won't ever be perfect this week, next week, right? Think about the last time you lost weight. Was it enough? Did you once say, oh, it could have been quicker? Or, yeah, but I could have done this. I've spoken with many women who have said, yeah, I lost 10 pounds, but it could have been faster. I could have done it sooner. Or it just wasn't good enough. It wasn't done the right way. And this is why the only way of achieving your goals without letting this perfectionism hold you back isn't to try harder to hit this impossible standard, but to drop the idea that there's a specific standard to hit in the first place, and replacing it with something closer to a more rebellious, I will do it anyway attitude is actually going to be far more fruitful for you in achieving your goals. So the label perfectionism it's a little sneakier than you saying, I'm a perfectionist. And the ways that you can spot that is maybe going hard or go home, that kind of mentality. The full 360 for every new diet where everything changes all at once, like new meals, new gym plan, no wine, no bread, no exceptions, right? They were the things that I tried. I tried the all or nothing. It can be the last supper before you start your diet the next day, and clearing out the cupboards and purging on all of that food. Maybe grabbing a takeaway and a bottle of wine because it's the last time that you're going to be able to have those foods. It's cutting everything out at once. It's the moment that your plans change, someone cancels on you, and you end up taking a different route home. You can't eat what you'd planned, and you suddenly are not adapting anymore, but instead you end up explaining to yourself and justifying to yourself why this circumstance that you find yourself in is an excuse for your unplanned choices and unaligned choices that you make that are not aligned to your goals. For example, if you wanted to lose weight and you said to yourself, I'm not going to get a takeaway this week, and work just hits the fan, it goes crazy, and on the way home you end up grabbing a takeaway. But after the takeaway, you feel the shame escalate, and now you feel the judgment kick in, and the frustration and the anger and the resentment. Why did I do that? Why can't I stick to my goals? What is wrong with me? I just don't have enough self-discipline. I don't have enough motivation. I must not want my goals enough. So you bought that shame train over something that could have just been nothing. And in some areas of your life, food particularly, you're probably either fully on or fully off. Like you're either good or you're bad. There's no dimmer switch, as I mentioned earlier. It's just a simple switch. Once it flips off, one slip up doesn't feel like a slip up anymore. It just feels like the whole thing, the whole day, the whole week is ruined. And it sounds like I've ruined it. I may as well just eat the whole packet, or I missed one day at the gym, so I might as well not go for the rest of the week. I will just start again Monday. Those are the thoughts that have you sticking and not taking action and not actually getting the results. It has you staying stuck because reaching this self-imposed standard of perfectionism is impossible. So sometimes you can eat to plan for a few days, you can be doing really well, and then you go off plan and then you write off the entire day or the entire week. But then once it's written off, it's not just that one thing anymore. You know what I'm talking about. You write that one thing off and then it's, well, fuck it. I've already done this. I might as well do this. And so now it's not just one thing. You now have all of the things. So you're not undoing one meal. You're having to undo many meals. And sometimes it feels like you just have to get it out of your system before you're allowed to reset on Monday. You know while you're doing it that it doesn't make sense, but you'll still do it anyway. And underneath that is that low-lying blanket of shame. And we say, and underneath that blanket of shame is this identity of, I am just an all or nothing person. Have you ever used those words before? I'm just all or nothing. It's just, I'm either in or out, right? I'm either in it or I'm out of it. I'm either good or I'm bad. I'm either healthy or I'm unhealthy. That label is a personality trait that you actually don't want. Giving yourself the label that you're an all-in or all-out kind of person is actually very detrimental to the future progress that you want to make. So if you have previously been an all-in or all-out kind of person, continuing to use that label is going to keep your brain acting in that same way because you haven't detached from that label. It's just that your brain has turned a pattern that you learned into something that you think that you are. And when you assign that identity, it is very difficult to shift out of if you don't do deep identity work. But it was never an ingrained identity. You gave yourself that, which is the good news, I promise. Because it was just a rule that you were taught to follow, and rules can be broken. Because an identity is essentially just a set of rules that you create. And you can change that. You can unlearn and rewire your identity. So perfectionism is a liar. It tells you if it's not exactly right that you've done it wrong. And if you've done it wrong, you are the failure. You end up spending your days holding it together on the outside, while underneath you're secretly fucking terrified, clinging to the scales, terrified the scales are going to move the wrong way, replaying everything you've eaten that day like you're building a case against yourself. And it doesn't take much to trigger that. One missed 45-minute gym session, suddenly you're sat there feeling like you've blown the whole week where you could have just gone the next day. But I hope you know that I am not exempt from the label of perfectionism. I also suffer with perfectionism too. And I have had to work very fucking hard to deliver subpar work in order to just get shit done. Okay? I have had to put in the reps in order to get the work done, because done is better than perfect. I'll give you an example. I spent an entire year from January the 1st to December the 31st. I can't remember what year it was now. An entire year building my 28-day meal plan, right? The 28-day meal plan, the one that's in my bio right now, is like $17, right? I spent 365 days on this one resource. Why? Because it had to be perfect before anyone could see it. Except I'm not a chef. I'm not a graphics designer. So my version of perfection kept moving further and further away every time I looked at it. And it wasn't until I gave myself an actual deadline, one I couldn't move. I committed. I said it publicly. I am going to give you your 28-day meal plan. wasn't until I did that that I finally got it done. But it was still very imperfect in my eyes. I get feedback on it consistently about how helpful it is, how useful it is. Yes, it's slightly rough around the edges. It's slightly off brand. In fact, I think it still uses my old brand like fonts and colors and stuff. But done is a hell of a lot better than not done at all. So that plan has helped 227 women so far. 227 women have bought my 28-day meal plan. It's helped women plan their weeks, understand what eating clean vegan looks like in action. It has helped every woman understand how to balance their plate for energy, for fat loss, for longevity. So I helped 227 women because I put out messy. Now, this isn't an advert for the 28-day meal plan. If you do want the plan, what I'll do is I'll make sure that I link it in the show notes or the description of this video. But what I wanted to convey to you is that even when you see someone who seems like they don't suffer from perfectionism, there is people like myself who have to face the reality that done is better than perfect. So if I am facing that and I'm working on that, I want you to work on it too. And here's exactly what I want you to do instead. So the next time you feel that all or nothing switch, that pull, when you feel that switch flipping and you see yourself maybe retracting from taking action, that looks like procrastinating or doing more research than actually getting in the reps and putting in the work, or even just blatantly putting things off. First is to catch the moment. We can't change what we don't know. So notice it happening. Notice the thought popping into your mind. It might sound like, I've ruined it. Or, well, I might as well finish the pack, skip the rest of the day, eat whatever I want. So the most difficult part about my program for new clients isn't actually the tools or necessarily implementing things. It's actually about them being able to catch their thoughts. That's why thought work or mindset is a big pillar for me. And it's why I talk about our thoughts so often, because we have between 9,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. But if I were to ask you to count them, you probably couldn't. It's not because you'd lose count, but actually because you probably wouldn't even notice them being there in the first place. You wouldn't necessarily hear them or see them there. So you have to start getting really fucking good at noticing your thoughts before you even change them. And before you change them, you have to interrupt them. So the more you notice, the more you interrupt, the more you change. That noticing those thoughts, hearing them, spotting them, playing I Spy with your thoughts alone will help you interrupt the automatic response into fuck it mode. So then you're going to ask yourself one question. What could good enough actually look like right now if perfect didn't exist? And notice, can you pull the self-imposed bar of expectations down a notch to something that's genuinely doable for you in this exact moment? Not the version of you that you wish that you were, but the actual version of you that's tired or busy or feels restricted in what she can do and what's available to her. And then thirdly, I want you to take massive, messy action anyway. And taking messy action, if you are a self-proclaimed perfectionist, obviously taking messy action, taking unready action, taking imperfect action is going to feel shit, right? You have to go in expecting it to feel gross, to feel weird. But I want you to step into that feeling. I want you to notice, who do you feel like you're letting down if you don't reach that level of perfectionism? And then ask yourself, like, are you actually letting them down? And be honest with yourself, right? Because bringing curiosity to this place is like shining a light on reality. So tell me if you've experienced these before, please help me feel like a normal human being. But in the night, I will often be in between this state of sleep and wake. And just as I'm kind of teetering along both of those, my dream will turn into a hallucination where I can see things. So I'll have my eyes open, I think, or at least I think they're open. And I can see things, but I'm still dreaming. Quite often I see like spiders. I will see a person in the corner of the room. I have seen children in my wardrobe. But because I can see it, because my eyes are open, sometimes if there's an element of light around, if I stare at the light, I can wake up. If I have enough wakefulness in that moment, I can switch on a light because I know that I am hallucinating. Or if it's not that I know that I'm hallucinating, I want to switch on a light to address whatever's there, right? To find the spider or to fight for my life if it's a human. Like genuinely, that's exactly what comes up for me. Or to save the children that are crying in my wardrobe. But on the wakefulness side, so when I wake up enough, I have woken up enough to realize that it was a dream and it's not real. Now, that usually happens the moment the light comes on. I wake up almost immediately. But in the dark, that wakefulness can actually play around and teeter around in the dream state. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to see all of your thoughts as hallucinations. Don't take your thoughts for truth, right? I think that's one of the most detrimental things that we do is we take our thoughts for absolute truths. And the thing is your thoughts aren't true. Having a thought doesn't make you a good or bad person. Acting on that thought might, but having a thought does not make you good or bad. It just means that you've had a thought and that's okay. So it's okay to have the hallucinations. They're not real. Thoughts are not real. The hallucinations don't mean anything. The thoughts don't mean anything. But then when you act upon them, it does, right? So when I switch the light on, when I take action, then I can start to see what the truth is and where the truth is. So if I have my Fitbit on, for example, it's a very, very dim light and you can't even see it on the camera. The Fitbit, if you have a smartwatch, it's a very, very dim light. So sometimes I can press that and get enough light to wake up or enough light to find the toilet paper in the middle of the night. Or if I switch a light on, I'm able to shine a light onto the area of the room where I can see this hallucination or this person or whatever it is. So I want you to think about your thoughts like these hallucinations, like my hallucinations that I see in the middle of the night. And I want you to think about your thought as those. And when you start shining a light on those thoughts, you actually start to see if they're really there, if they're actually a spider, or if they're just part of your dreams, if they're just something that your brain made up, because your thoughts essentially are what your brain has made up. But they come from what you know, what you've experienced in life, what your programming and conditioning has been. Think about your thoughts as hallucinations, and the light is shining the light on those thoughts. So what I mean is pay attention. The light is your attention. The more attention you shine on your thoughts, the more of those you get to sift through and truly recognize what's helpful, what's not helpful, what's the truth, what's not the truth. And I want you to remember that if it feels uncomfortable to shine the light on your thoughts, then you're probably doing it right. You're probably doing it right because you have most likely stayed in your comfort zone for so fucking long that you're not used to taking action that actually gets you to the next level. Now, if comfortable action took you to the next level, we'd all be achieving our goals. We wouldn't have any problems because in reality, this is not a real statistic, but I'm going to hazard a guess, 9.5 times out of 10, the only reason why you can't achieve something is because your own self-imposed limitations. Right? And I know this from working with hundreds of women. I know this from overcoming my own personal limitations, working through my family and my friends, personal limitations, right? The only thing that stops you achieving what you want in life is your own personal limitations. When I say personal limitations, by the way, I mean self-imposed limitations. What you believe you're capable of, what you believe that you're worthy of. I'll give you a really, really, really honest example, and I don't know how this is going to come off, but I have always been fearful about messaging people that I see online, that I like their content, or maybe they've got a lot of followers. I feel like a little bit like, who am I to message these people? And quite often I will see your account and there's thousands of followers and I'm like, oh my God, they're so awesome. They're so cool. You know, I get like a little bit fangirly, especially with the physicians and the doctors and the dietitians and the nutritionists in the plant-based space. You know, the authors and stuff, when I go and meet them, I get a little bit like inside myself, a little bit like a fangirl. And I just didn't believe that I was a big enough of a person to go up to these people or to speak to these people. And actually, my boyfriend saw it before me. He was like, they're just people, right? They're just other people doing their thing. What is stopping you from reaching out and speaking to them? And I've recently started to line up interviews for 30 days, one a day across September, with people that we love, adore, and respect in the plant-based space. Now, to do that, I've had to reach out to people. And I've had to step into that fear, and I've had to step into that uncomfortable feeling of not being worthy enough, or not having enough of a following to be able to speak to those people. And you might look at me and be like, yeah, but you're recording this and you're putting content out there. Yes, but I still have my own personal limiting beliefs. And so I have been doing this, and in the process of doing this, I can't tell you how full my heart has felt the last couple of weeks of lining up those speakers, because everyone has just been truly, truly remarkable, truly kind, considerate, open, exciting. I've made so many new friends and contacts over the last couple of weeks trying to line up some people. It's just really, really opened my heart. And it was the only reason why I didn't do that in the first place is because this self-imposed limiting belief. So the only thing that's going to take you to the next step is wherever you feel uncomfortable, right? Wherever you feel uncomfortable. And if taking messy action is where you feel uncomfortable because you give yourself this label of a perfectionist, then stepping into where it feels uncomfortable and taking aligned action, so action that's aligned with your goals but unaligned with who you are right now, that is most likely going to get you to the next step. That is going to be your springboard to the next version, the next level of you. So I want you to remember that messy action is you putting in the reps, and you've got to put in the reps to see the change, right? These muscles, that wasn't just one bicep curl. That was 10 reps by 3 by 2, so 2 times a week for 10 years. They are the reps. And every single rep compounds like a muscle. Every rep compounds, and it will compound far better and faster than the streaks that you keep aiming for and falling off track with. So to succeed, you have to be willing to try and be bad at it, because if you are being deliberate about taking action. Because if you're only ever willing to show up when you can do it perfectly, you're going to spend most of your life just not showing up at all. And if you feel like you've always been a perfectionist, or that perfectionism is in your DNA, by this point, your job isn't to fix that overnight. Your job is to start practicing being bad at things on purpose. Small and often steps until it stops feeling like a threat to your nervous system. Because your brain doesn't want to be perceived as a failure, as a flop, as an embarrassment, right? You don't want to be judged by others, because being judged by others is a potential threat according to the brain, right? To your old primal wiring, which we all still have. Public humiliation or segregation from your herd, from the people around us, is a threat to your personal safety. If nobody backs you up in a fight, then you're left for scraps. Of course, that's not what's really happening here. So you've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. Do it in a silly way, like ordering the wrong meal at a restaurant per session, and don't make up for it the next day. And let good enough actually be good enough. And watch how nothing actually falls apart in your life, and you can build consistency through that slight inconsistency. Because you will build more consistency by ignoring the blips and the mistakes and getting back on track and doing things imperfectly, you will see far more progress than having to restart and restart and restart. And why don't you join me in my journey in trying to be imperfect? Because as I mentioned, for the entirety of September, I'm going to interview a plant-based expert once a day to help improve the health and lives of women in the Her Plant Powered Tour. And I'm not expecting anyone to catch every single day live. I'm expecting someone might have to cancel last minute. I'm expecting technology to mess up and not work. I'm even expecting the 30 days to be so imperfect. And while that feels dangerously uncomfortable for me, it also feels soothing to know that it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be done. And by the way, if you want daily reminders, VIP exclusive access, including the full directory of links and freebies at the end, just comment VIP and I'll sort you out with VIP access for free. Your main goal right now, though, is to never be perfect because, well, we all know perfect doesn't exist. But perfect is subjective. It's also dependent on how you're feeling in those exact moments. And your health, your weight loss or vegan journey was never going to be imperfect. I want you to relax and allow your nervous system to relax, knowing that you don't have to reach these stupidly high self-imposed expectations. You got this. The goal is to keep showing up 1 month, 1 year, 30 years from now, instead of another 30 years spent starting again on Monday. Don't forget to comment VIP or use the link in the show notes and description, and I'll sort you out with free VIP access to the Her Plant Powered Tour, where I'm interviewing plant-based experts that we love and adore in the space. It is going to be an unbelievable wealth of information, expertise, stories, and knowledge. And you just can't miss out on this, especially because it's free. So make sure you comment VIP now. Otherwise, you'd be silly not to. Take care, my lovelies. Until the next episode, I'll see you soon. Bye.